June 24, 1944. 150 miles southwest of Kagoshima, Japan. Lieutenant Commander Richard O'Kane pressed his eye against the periscope aboard the USS Tang, his pulse steady yet charged with anticipation. Through the lens, he watched 6 massive cargo ships escorted by 16 warships, one of the largest Japanese convoys he had ever encountered. Each ship was laden with troops, weapons, and supplies desperately needed to sustain Japan's collapsing defenses across the Pacific. Behind him, the crew stood in tense silence, waiting for the moment of attack. They had stalked this convoy for over 4 hours, positioning the Tang with surgical precision. In her torpedo tubes sat 24 lethal weapons, each a 3,000-pound projectile capable of snapping a ship in half. O'Kane's mind worked like a machine, calculating speed, angle, and distance. He was the protege of the legendary Commander Dudley Morton of the USS Wahoo, who had revolutionized submarine warfare. But now, O'Kane was proving he had surpassed even his mentor. The Japanese did not yet understand that American submarines had evolved into something their doctrine could not counter. The torpedoes finally worked. The boats were stronger, and the commanders had turned mathematics and stealth into instruments of annihilation. The USS Tang had begun her journey just 9 months earlier at the Mare Island Naval Shipyard in California. She was a Balo-class submarine, 311 feet long, able to dive deeper than any of her predecessors thanks to high-tensile steel hulls, 10 torpedo tubes, diesel-electric propulsion, and the ability to patrol for 75 days made her the ideal predator. The Balao-class submarines were the spearhead of a new underwater fleet, fast, durable, and built for long-range devastation. When the Tang was commissioned on October 15, 1943, her 32-year-old captain was already a rising legend. Richard O'Kane had served as executive officer aboard Wahoo, where he learned Morton's bold tactics firsthand. When Wahoo was lost in October 1943, O'Kane swore to continue his mentor's aggressive legacy, but with precision instead of recklessness. He trained his men relentlessly, teaching them periscope identification, range estimation, and silent tracking methods. By January 1944, Tang was ready for war, and the U.S. Navy's long-plagued torpedo problems had finally been fixed. The once flawed Mark 14 Lot 14 torpedoes, infamous for running too deep and failing to detonate, were replaced or redesigned after Admiral Charles Lockwood's relentless testing exposed their flaws. For the first time, submarine commanders could rely on their weapons. When Tang left Pearl Harbor on her first patrol in January 1944, she entered a transformed war. On February 17th, she sank the Gyotan Maru with 3 perfect hits, then destroyed Fukuyama Maru and Yamashimo Maru in a single night. By the end of her first patrol, Tang had sunk 5 ships totaling 18,000 tons. On her second patrol, she rescued 22 downed American aviators from the waters near Truk Lagoon, a daring act that earned her crew a Presidential Unit citation. But it was her third patrol that would make history. Operating in the deadly waters of the Yellow Sea, O'Kane turned the area into a graveyard for Japanese shipping. The Imperial Navy had failed to grasp the importance of anti-submarine warfare. Their escorts were undertrained, their sonar primitive, and their doctrine outdated. While Britain had perfected convoy protection during the Battle of the Atlantic, Japan clung to the notion that surface battleships were the key to victory. That cultural arrogance doomed their merchant fleet. On June 24, 1944, O'Kane's radar detected that massive convoy south of Kagoshima. After 4 hours of pursuit, he launched 6 torpedoes into the formation. The explosions that followed were catastrophic. 4 ships, including the Tomahoko Maru and Kenichi Maru, went to the bottom in a single attack, a feat unmatched in submarine history. A week later, Tang sank Nikin Maru, killing over 3,000 Japanese soldiers trapped below deck, and then destroyed 2 more ships, the Tayun Maru No. 2 and the Takuni Maru No. 1 as they tried to flee. On July 4th, O'Kane celebrated Independence Day by sending the Askazan Maru to the seafloor. By the end of her third patrol, Tang had sunk 10 ships in 36 days, totaling nearly 40,000 tons. It was the single most successful submarine patrol of World War II. Her fourth patrol, off the coast of Japan itself, was equally daring. O'Kane sank more freighters and patrol craft despite facing heavy air and naval defenses. By September 1944, after just 9 months of combat, Tang had destroyed 31 ships and earned her captain a reputation as the most successful submarine commander in U.S. Navy history. When Tang departed on her fifth patrol that month, O'Kane requested the most dangerous waters of all, the Formosa Strait, narrow, mined, and swarming with enemy patrols. He declined an offer to join a wolf pack. Tang would hunt alone. In October, she struck again, sinking 2 cargo ships, on the 11th and then obliterating a massive convoy on the 23rd and 24th. The sea around Formosa burned as tankers and transports exploded under O'Kane's relentless attacks. By dawn on October 25th, Tang had fired 23 torpedoes, destroying 13 ships in 2 nights. Only 1 torpedo remained. O'Kane selected a final target, a damaged freighter struggling to escape, and gave the order to fire. The weapon left the tube smoothly, then veered hard to port, looping into a deadly circle. In seconds, the crew realized their nightmare. The Mark 18 torpedo had malfunctioned and was turning back toward them. O'Kane ordered full speed, but there was no escape. The torpedo struck the Tang's stern and detonated, splitting the submarine in 2. The explosion killed most of the crew instantly. O'Kane and 8 others were blown into the water. Inside the sunken hull, 30 survivors crowded into the forward torpedo room, desperate to escape. Using the Momsen lung, an emergency breathing device, 13 men attempted to ascend from 180 feet below the surface. Only 5 reached the surface alive. In total, 9 survivors were rescued by a Japanese escort vessel carrying survivors from ships Tang herself had sunk hours earlier. The captured Americans were beaten, tortured, and sent to prison camps in Japan, where they endured the remainder of the war. 78 crewmen remained entombed inside their submarine, now resting forever at the bottom of the Formosa Strait. When the war ended, the survivors returned home as heroes. O'Kane was awarded the Medal of Honor by President Harry Truman in 1946 for his extraordinary valor. He also received 3 Navy Crosses, 3 Silver Stars, and the Legion of Merit. He continued to serve until retiring as a Rear Admiral in 1957 and passed away in military feat Satustan Anabanor. 1994 at the age of 82, the most successful submarine commander in American history. Tang's record remains unequaled. 33 confirmed ships sunk, over 116,000 tons destroyed, and the most successful single patrol in submarine warfare. Yet her loss by her own torpedo stands as one of the cruelest ironies of World War II. The Japanese Navy's failure to develop proper anti-submarine tactics and their obsession with battleships had doomed their merchant fleet. By 1944, American submarines, just 1.6% of the U.S. Navy's personnel, were sinking Japanese ships faster than they could be replaced. They accounted for more than half of all Japanese shipping losses, crippling Japan's industry, economy, and military logistics. The story of USS Tang is more than a tale of victory. It is a testament to human skill, courage, and fate. O'Kane and his men demonstrated what precision, innovation, and audacity could achieve under pressure. They turned the silent war beneath the waves into one of the most decisive campaigns of the entire conflict. Yet their end reminds us of war's cruel balance. Even the greatest hunters can fall to their own weapons. The Tang's legacy endures, not just as a record of triumph, but as a story of sacrifice, ingenuity, and the thin line between victory and tragedy.